This episode is in partnership with CertSmart, powered by LRQA. Designed specifically for small business in the UK, CertSmart offers the best-in-class and best-in-price UCAS-accredited ISO 9001 certification. Get certified and grow your business faster. Get a quote in under 2 minutes at certsmart.co.uk today.
Welcome to this latest First Voice podcast, brought to you by First Voice magazine, the official flagship magazine of the Federation of Small Businesses and the go-to podcast for news, tips and important information for small businesses and the self-employed. This episode, we are looking at how small businesses can achieve ISO 9001. Now, if you are a small business that fulfills contractual obligations or delivers goods and services to other businesses, then you'll likely have heard of ISO 9001 because lots of those businesses you supply or want to supply will likely require that you have it. So in this episode, we will look at some practical tips for how small businesses can achieve it, or indeed how they can transfer their ISO 9001 certification to an online platform, including some practical tips on documenting existing procedures. But we will also look at exactly what it is and why it's important, so that if you don't currently have it, or you're thinking about it and considering it, then you understand the doors that it can open for your small business. To help me explore all of those issues, I am joined by two guests. Cheryl Stevens is the product manager for CertSmart, the LRQA platform, which delivers straightforward, affordable and UCAS accredited services for small single-site businesses, including ISO 9001, and Kheradnejad, who is one of LRQA's most experienced auditors, particularly with small businesses, and will give us valuable insights on the challenges, pitfalls, and solutions for small businesses looking to achieve certification. Thank you both very much for joining us. It's good to have you here. Thank you. Cheryl, I'm going to start with you, if that's all right. Can you set out exactly what ISO 9001 is and why it's valuable to small businesses?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, John. So ISO 9001 is an international standard. It's used for defining a quality management system, or you might be aware of the term of a QMS. So this QMS standard provides the requirements that should be implemented into a company, that it just helps them create all their processes, procedures, policies, things that are necessary to provide products and services to meet the regulatory and customer requirements. 9001 is probably the best known standard, but there are many standards out there covering all sorts of areas, from environmental, health and safety, medical, the list just goes on. It is used by around 1 million companies worldwide, and the size of the company doesn't matter. That can be anything from one person flying solo to an organisation of 100,000 team members. It doesn't really matter. It also doesn't matter the industry that you're in. It's a truly inclusive standard. So yes, there's many businesses that use the ISO 9000 standard, and some of those reasons are for the way that it works. It helps to save time around more efficient resource management. It helps to identify reoccurring problems and anomalies, so that you can look at how you can reduce them and eliminate them. But I think most importantly, one of the reasons that we find is that it's a way to increase profit potential and market share. At LRQA, we often see clients that, start their certification journey because they've got an opportunity to grow or to tender for a large client. So it's really seen as a way to propel your growth with larger organisations, or maybe working in public sectors, because it will allow you to get on the supplier approval list. It's just that way of showing that you operate to a higher level of quality management within your business, and that you comply to all that standard structure. It can, just on the flip side of that, it can also limit your ability to engage with some of those businesses if you don't have your ISO 9001.
Brilliant. So some really clear benefits for small businesses there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do they go to get it, and who supplies it?
Yeah. So firstly, John, just going back a step, there's many small businesses that are at the start of their ISO 9000 journey. And when you start it, it can seem really daunting. There's plenty of jargon in this industry and technical speak. So sometimes a little bit of help at the beginning can be really beneficial. So a lot of clients that we have use consultants. It's a good way to help them start their journey, but they do carry lots of costs. So I understand how difficult that can be for small businesses. So if you can't engage with a consultant, what I would suggest is that you can absolutely do this on your own, and you'll probably be further down on your journey than you think. Certification bodies are a good way of finding information. Their websites have got lots of tips and templates that can help small business owners. For example, at LRQA, we have CertSmart. That's completely designed around small businesses, which can help customers support them on their initial journey. But there's many CBs, and they can all look at. I would suggest that the listeners look at others just to see what else is out there to offer. So talking about that, you say, where can I get my audit from? Audits are completed by your certification bodies or CBs, and there's many of them to choose from. You can do a simple search on the internet, and this will provide a list of companies for you to work with. Try not to choose the first one at the top of your search page. Ideally, choose one that is UCAS accredited, as that is shows that your certification body has the ability to certify your business to that highest level, and your certificate will also carry the UCAS assured logo, which shows carries that quality brand and confidence level to your prospects, your prospect customers or clients. And some clients won't accept your certificate unless it carries that UCAS logo. So make sure that you look and choose your certification body that you want to work with wisely.
Okay, you talk about sort of, reputable providers there. What do you mean exactly by that? And what are some of the pitfalls of not going with a reputable provider?
Yeah, John, as with all things, there's companies out there that will offer certification that are not UCAS accredited, and they do this generally for a much lower price point. Now, so some of those companies are fine to work with, but it could potentially cost you in the long run because, again, if your prospect clients want that UCAS logo for that higher level of insurance on your certificate, then essentially that certificate that you're produced by the non-accredited UCAS would, you'd end up paying for it again. There's also, as there always is, there's some rogue companies out there, so please be careful. If you see anything where they're offering you a certificate for a very minimal price, around £100 to £400, all I can say is there really is no cheap and easy way to get an ISO 9001 certificate, and the small business owners will only end up paying again. So it's best, use accredited provider, choose wisely, and then, again, choose based on what your customer is demanding, and that will help you save your costs in the long run.
Yeah, some really good points there around the kind of benefits for small businesses, where you can get it from, and the importance of going with reputable providers, which, stands to reason and works across lots of things that small businesses are looking to achieve. Ali, I'd like to move on a little bit and talk about the process of achieving ISO 9001 accreditation. How exactly does that process work? What would small firms need to do to achieve it?
To be honest, John, the process starts from the initial stages, stage 1 and stage 2, and it's not that much different from the large organization. The only difference is the planning for the large organization with the multi-site is more time consuming and should be more preparation for the auditors. But for the small businesses, it's fairly simple, and the planning can be much easier. The stage 1 is basically to review the documentation and preparation of the organization for the ISO 9001 quality management systems, and normally it is 1 day or half a day a review of the documentation. It can be conducted remotely as well, and after approval for the minimum requirements, it can be recommended for the stage 2, and the stage 2 basically reviewing and auditing all the processes, the obviously key processes of the organization, from the starting point to the ending ending point of the process approach, which basically, if there is any customer approaching to the business, what journey is going to have to the end of the process. And this is the initial stage of the ISO 9001. And after that, there is some surveillance visit, depending on the contract that the business is going to have with the certification body. It can be on the six monthly surveillance visit, or 9 monthly, or 3 yearly. Certification the duration is 3 years from the starting point to the expiry, and then after that, certificate renewal audit, and that is normally the case. And the surveillance visit normally is shorter, but for the small businesses, it's not going to be that different, because it's going to be 1 day normally for the surveillance visit or cert renewal.
Okay, sounds pretty pain-free. What tips do you have to help small businesses achieve accreditation quickly and I guess in a hassle-free way? And what are some of the challenges that small businesses might face in terms of achieving accreditation or implementing a QMS?
The biggest challenge, I would say, if an organization wanted to apply for the ISO 9001 certification, is basically the language of the standard is a bit confusing, I would say. It was for me as well when I was starting this job, and gradually understood and what the requirement and the what's the expectation, etc., etc. But for a new organization, it can be quite time consuming, confusing, and just to avoid that, it's better to use some explanations, some resources, some books that can somehow help organizations. Some of them, they use the consultants, which is fine. But the biggest challenges I saw in some specific clauses, and a small organization, for example, for the internal audit and the matter of the impartiality, it's really hard to find somebody impartial to the business to conduct the internal audit. So this is one of the challenges I saw in the small organizations, how they can find somebody to conduct their internal audits. But if they understand the requirements, maybe it makes it much easier for them to overcome these challenges.
Yeah, and you're an auditor, Ali. So what exactly are auditors looking for? And how can awareness of that help small businesses reach their aim a bit quicker? Have you got a kind of practical example of that?
The most important thing for the auditor is a risk-based thinking and process approach. Basically, what we are looking for is to understand the key processes in the organization from starting point to the ending point, and how the organization is ensuring these processes are being working as they've been expected to, and also how they've been monitoring in terms of the performance, and if there is any shortage of the deficiency basically in the process, how they can be picked up and how they can improve it. So continual improvement is another thing that they need to consider. Monitoring the measuring equipment, which we call that calibration, is very important if it's in manufacturing processes. And ensuring the customer is protected is another thing that we are keen to see in the process, that how the organization is ensuring that final customer or next customer is protected in the process.
Superb. And Ali, just finally from you, we've talked a lot about achieving ISO 9001, but there's some stuff here for firms that have already done so. They don't have to stay with their current provider, do they? What are the benefits of considering a move if you've already achieved your ISO 9001?
I would say the best thing is the value for money, basically. Sometimes you're stuck with with one certification body because you're used to them, and but the thing is, maybe you don't get much from that certification body as a value for money, and also the quality of the audit, or because I would say some of the audits, normally when I audit, what is important for me is the value add, what I'm adding to that business as an auditor. It's not only auditing; it's just bringing some new questions and challenges that for the organization to see some different perspectives and for improvement. So for those organizations, they can look around and see if there is any other certification bodies with maybe more competitive prices or better performance. Always, I don't say the better prices is a better choice, but sometimes the achievement that of the clients with one of the certification body can indicate that the certification body is looking after their clients basically better, and success of their clients is considered the success of that certification body. So that is something that they can look around and find some organization certification bodies with better performance. And it's very easy to move on from when they have this certification ISO 9001. The simplest thing is to raise an inquiry, find a new certification body, and then request for the transition from transfer of the certification from the current CB to the new CB, and also informing the current CB as well. So the process is very simple, and the one transfer audit is going to be taking place, and that's easy. That's going to be moved on, and at the stage level that they are currently, they remain with the new certification body as well. So they don't have to start from the stage 1 and stage 2 if they have valid certification already.
Yeah, and I'm sure that cost-saving message is one that resonates with our audience right now, given the increased cost of doing business that we're experiencing at the moment. Cheryl, I'll just bring you back in if you don't mind. Anything to add on those points, just to summarise for us perhaps, and where can our audience find out more about this?
Yeah, absolutely, John. So yeah, really everything that Ali has said, obviously the whole certification journey and then transferring that certificate. For anybody that wants to know anything else, you can always search on CertSmart.co.uk. You can find out what we offer here at LRQA to support small businesses. We actually have 2 small business programs within the business. There is a live chat function on the website. So if you have any questions and you need an instant response, then you can speak to a real person, because that's connected directly to a person and not a bot. And also there is some contact us numbers on the website. So again, if you want to speak to one of our amazing team there, they'll be able to help you and support you on that certification journey.
That's brilliant. Thanks, Cheryl. And thanks, Ali, for that brilliant walk through the value of ISO 9001 and how small businesses can secure it, use it to grow, and ensure it is from and with a reputable provider. Thank you. Thank you also.
Thanks, John.
No, you're welcome. Thank you also to our audience for listening. While I have your attention, as always, I would just like to remind you that you can subscribe to the First Voice podcast to receive regular updates and guidance on the big issues affecting small businesses. And do please also remember that you can find a whole host of additional webinars, podcasts, and other content on the First Voice website at firstvoice.fsb.org.uk. Many thanks for joining us.
This episode is in partnership with CertSmart, powered by LRQA. Designed specifically for small business in the UK, CertSmart offers the best-in-class and best-in-price UKAS-accredited ISO 9001 certification. Get certified and grow your business faster. Get a quote in under 2 minutes at certsmart.co.uk today.